So I still have my colors that I originally had on my palette, which my titanium white is getting a little used up, so I might have to add some more of that. I've got cerulean blue, which was what we used on the sky. This is sap green. This is yellow ochre. I added Van Dyke brown for some of my shadows. I'm going to start working on the ground now, and that's my Payne's gray back there. It looks black, but it's Payne's gray. Here we still have a little mix from when I was doing my sky and my trees, but I'm going to go ahead now and kind of start working on the ground. So for some of the shadows, I'm going to go back and forth between some Van Dyke brown and some Payne's gray. So when I stopped working on my trees before, I had a pretty definitive line right here, and that's not what you want, because I'm going to have some grasses sticking up here. Distant grasses will be shorter. There may be some closer ones that stick up, but I don't want to have to fight this horizontal line. So I was trying to kind of blend that a bit so that it comes down. There's still a horizon here, but it's not one that I'm going to have to compete with. I don't want to lose where my horizon is, but really it's going to be covered up for the most part, so it's not going to be a big deal. And during my initial setup of this canvas with the acrylic paint, remember I said I did this area vertical because when I paint over it, as you see here, we see some vertical lines. And so I'm going to come in with my base color now and still try to put it in here vertically, but not lose my horizon line. And I'm just trying to lay down colors, shadows, light, where back by this tree, for example, and I'm still using the same brush, which, right or wrong, that's what I'm doing. But back by that tree, obviously it's going to be blocking the light somewhat, so we're going to have some darker areas over here. It's going to be lighter over here because that's where the light is, but I'm going to just even bring this up a little bit into our tree area. This is just the background of that area. So close to the trees, obviously you'd have some smaller guys, but there's going to be some closer grass that sticks up. And so I might even bring, let's see here. Let's get this is one of my Black Swan brushes. This is my favorite set of brushes now, but this is an angled brush, so you can see the angled shape of it. And this is a number 4. Looks like it's about a 1/4 inch. I'm finding that the numbers are not universal. So what's a number 4 with one company won't be a number 4 with somebody else. So it's not really something that you can say, oh, number 4 is always my favorite. But once you find a line that you like I really like this Black Swan line because of how soft it is, then you can, I guess, sort of judge. But I still always go in and look at what's the measurement of it. I tend to like brushes that are very small because I get in and I do a lot of fine detail work. So most of my brushes are very small. I said I liked those Aspen brushes when I first started out, and I bought a lot of big ones because, I don't know, I guess I thought we needed big brushes, and big brushes looked cool, but then what I found, I wasn't really even using the big brushes. So I'm doing a little bit of darker shadow right here behind him. And remember, I'm taking it over the edge of my figure because when I paint it, I don't want to see anything here or say, oh no, I really should have filled that in there. Okay, so that's just about entirely Van Dyke brown that I just put there. And that's fine because, look, it already looks like grasses. And it's going to get covered up later. So I'm just trying to lay down the background color. And when you look at a field of grass, you see different colors all over the place. There's light ones and dark ones. And I'm doing this with the smaller brush back here because these are more distant grasses. When I get up close, I'll go back to the bigger brush. But just to have some smaller hints of grass back here. And just that fast, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. Moving on. Remember, when you look at the field, you're going to see light areas, dark areas. We're going to come back in later and put some definition. And grasses don't all grow straight up and down. So put some go in different directions. See, let's throw a little bit of yellow ochre in there. Trying to be a little more careful here. I mean, like I said, paint over the edges, but I mean, I don't want to lose what my edges are, so I'll go back in with the smaller brush. Get some lighter stuff. So as I get towards the bottom here, I did a little bit of a darker color right here. Because remember, the sun is behind him, and so this area is going to be in shadow. So I did sap green, some Van Dyke brown, and I just started sort of filling in with a little bit darker color down here. There will be some blades of grass that cover him up, and I talked about working back to front, which is generally true, of course. Since the grass is going to cover him up, he's technically behind this grass, but since we're working on grass, we still want to get it in the scene now, and we're just laying down the background color anyway, what's going to be underneath the blades of grass. So I'm really just getting the color here. I'm not actually doing the detail. I don't want to go too crazy with the dark color here, so I'll put some lighter colors in here too. One of the things I wanted to mention though is as I'm putting my background color in here, I'm trying to put grass shapes. I'm also still leaving some of what we put down with the acrylic. You can see some of it peeking through there, and that's fine. I don't have to fully cover the background. Some of it may be peeking through in the final image. Some of it might get covered up. That is a lot of white, so let's change that. There we go. And down here in the front, partly because it's hard to reach on the easel, but also because we're focusing on them, I'm not really putting a lot of definition here. I am making sure that it still goes vertically and that we see different colors in here. We're going to be able to see behind his legs, so I got to have some grass color there. And I don't have to be too crazy here because I'm going to be bringing Basil's color down and kind of infringing on the grass here, but I want to blur that line so that when I put the grass there, you focus on the grass and not the definition between Basil's rear end and the ground. Same here. I want to blur this line. I want the grass to hide it, but I don't want there to be a definitive line like, because that's, when you look at a foot sitting in the grass, you don't see a definitive line like that. Again, I'm doing this grass darker than I did that because this area is in shadow. And I will be painting over this grass background color when I come in and paint his pants and his foot and everything, but it just helps to hide that line so it's not too bold when we do the final piece. But I need to make sure that I get this white hidden. So I think I'm happy with what I've laid in so far with the background color for the grasses. Like I said, we can still see some of the original acrylic here, and that's part of why I put the acrylic down first, because if I just had a blank white canvas and I was putting these grasses on there, the white would be showing through so boldly. And actually, even with the acrylic, I maybe could have gone a little more green or a little darker, covered up the white a little more. But when I start putting the actual blades of grass in here, it's going to cover that up. So what I've put in today gives color variation. It gives a little bit of movement. It gives, you know, just something for those individual blades of grass to lay on, and it adds depth. So overall, I think I'm pretty happy with it. I did put a little bit more of a shadow down here, just so that this blends, but that we see that it's darker here in front of him because the light is behind him. So we want to have some of the darker colors down here and the grass over there behind him. So this is pretty good, and I think the next step will be to actually start working on the figures. That's the fun part. I'm going to work on some of the background grasses that are going to go near the horizon. And I'm going to use a, if you can see it, it's a 10/0 brush from Rosemary & Co. It was a set of brushes that I bought that, these are some of the ones that are made over in England. This is not a sable brush, this is a synthetic brush, but the 10.0 would have a really small tip on it. And so I just want to give the suggestion of some of the taller grasses back there. In order to make them really flow, I'm going to use some linseed oil, and the top is all gunky. Using linseed oil will help it really flow, and I have struggled with grasses in the past. I still sometimes do, because it's easy to end up having the brush kind of flatten out on you and get wider strokes than what you intend. I've heard that you use linseed oil to make it flow better, and I found you need a lot more linseed oil than what you think you need. Excuse me. So I'm into vintage and antique things, and so I wanted something to pour my linseed oil into when I paint. So I actually have this little, it's a salt thing from, I want to say the 1920s, but it's got a little crack in the bottom of it. I think I paid $5 for it, but I put my linseed oil in here so that I can have it down on my palette and it's not going to run all over the place. So I'm going to put just a touch in there. Since we're just doing a little bit of grass, I don't need very much, just a little bit. And then I'll be able to dip my brush in there and in the colors. So for the distant colors, I want to use the darker color, but I also want it to blend in. So I think I'm going to try mixing this linseed oil into some of the kind of mid-tone color that we've already done. Maybe add a little bit of the Van Dyke Brown just to darken it up a bit. And I think I'm going to throw some Payne's Gray in there too, to keep it toned down a bit so that it's not too bold. I don't want these grasses to look really bold, but I want them to be noticeable, that they are grasses back there. So maybe a little bit more of the Payne's Gray, a little bit more of the Van Dyke Brown. And the consistency that I'm trying to get to with the linseed oil, in the artist that I watched, he said make it the consistency of ink. And then I tried doing that, and it still didn't work. And I found that I needed it to be even thinner than that. So see, this is even thicker than what I think I want, but I'm just barely touching. I'm gonna add even a little bit more. One of the nice things when you're painting acrylic is you can rest your hand on the canvas. You can't do that with oils, although I've tried. Got too much on my brush. So I'm putting it in the paint and then rolling the tips so it kind of brings it to a point. And where's my soft brush? I'm gonna come in here and just kind of soften the bottom of these. Even pulling them down into the grasses below them, because they're just sticking up out of the grass. They're far away, so they're not supposed to look very big. I'm gonna bring a little more green in here. See if I can throw some green ones in there. Soften those down a bit. Now, I don't want to break my own rule. I need to have them going in different directions, and I'm just making them all straight up and down. So let's see if we can throw a couple in here there. And these are just background grasses. These aren't doing the heavy lifting. We actually don't even want too many of them. We want it to be pretty subtle. And over here, still keeping it kind of blurry. And I've already got some decent grasses over here that are kind of covering up that area, so I think that's all I'll do there for now. And then those are just the background at the tree line. I'm going to come in and do just a few more bigger ones here that go in the mid-ground. That sort of show texture of grass out there. And these don't have to be quite so fine as the ones by the tree line. Some of these can be darker too. They're hidden down in the grass. So I'm going to try to make a bit of a darker color here. So the thing about the linseed oil is it's not going to dry as fast as the liquid. And most of the grass that I put in already was, it didn't have any liquid in it. It was just the paint. So this is just adding more suggestion of grass blades out there. And I don't really want to have it in the middle of the painting. Because again, the middle of the painting is the figures. These are just going to be kind of out here, adding texture. Oh, that one was a bit bold. A little fat on top. I think this color is too close to the background color there. So I'm pressing harder than I should because it's not showing up. I'm going to add a little bit darker. There, see? Now when it goes on, I see it, and I'm not tempted to press harder. Is this technically the right way to do it? Probably not. It's my way, though. Someday, maybe one of my art teachers will see this and be like, that's not what I taught her. All right, I think I like that. Gives it a little more definition. And up front here, there'll be a lot more grass, and that can go in after we paint the figures. Get a little bit here around his knee. Because once I put the figures in here, I'm not going to want to mess with that area too much. Because coming back in to put grass in after you've painted the figures is not really something I like doing. And these grasses are distant, so I'm gonna blend that in a bit, blend it down so it sort of lengthens it. Don't want to make it look like I was leaving this whole halo around the fox's head, so I'm trying to... Oh, I don't know if I like that one. That's fine, because that'll get covered up right there. And maybe a little bit around his back. All right, so eventually, I would say the foreground is going to start about here. And so we're going to come and we're going to put some much taller grasses in here. And all of this is just the background grass. There'll be some more defined taller grasses that come in here, some short grass down here that sticks up. But I'll do all that after I paint my figures next.